Chosen one, there are moments in life when something deep inside your spirit becomes unsettled for no obvious reason, when everything around you looks normal, yet your heart refuses to relax, when your mind cannot explain it, but your soul keeps whispering. Pay attention. If you are feeling that right now, this message is for you. This is not fear speaking, this is not anxiety, this is not overthinking, this is discernment. And discernment is one of the quietest ways God warns those He is protecting. You didn't click on this by accident. You felt pulled. You felt guided, because somewhere in your life, there is a presence, a connection, a person whose energy does not match the direction God is taking you. And the truth is, divine warnings rarely arrive as loud voices or dramatic signs most of the time. They arrive as discomfort you cannot explain, that appears without conflict, distance that grows without argument, a heaviness that settles over conversations that once felt light. You may have tried to ignore it. You may have told yourself you are imagining things. You may have even blamed yourself for feeling too sensitive or too guarded. But chosen ones, your sensitivity is not a weakness. It is a spiritual alarm system. And right now, that alarm is trying to tell you something important about a man whose role in your life is shifting, or whose presence was never meant to remain. Sometimes God removes people suddenly, but other times He reveals them slowly, not because He wants to confuse you, but because He wants you to see clearly with your own awareness. Because when you see truth gradually, you don't just accept it, you understand it. Think about the small changes you have noticed, the subtle tension, the strange feeling that something is off even when nothing appears wrong. Maybe this man speaks supportive words, but your spirit feels drained after every interaction. Maybe he smiles, but something behind the smile feels hidden. Maybe he shows interest, but your peace disappears whenever he gets close. Chosen one's peace is not random. Peace is a signal. When peace leaves, it is never meaningless. God does not guide His people through confusion. He guides them through clarity that unfolds layer by layer. This is where many people make a mistake. They wait for proof that satisfies logic, while ignoring signals that are meant for the spirit. But divine protection does not always present evidence you can hold in your hands. Sometimes protection feels like hesitation, like distance, like a quiet resistance rising inside you every time you try to trust fully. And here is the truth many don't realize: when God is warning you about someone, He often allows their nature to reveal itself through patterns, not events. It won't be one dramatic betrayal. It will be small inconsistencies, repeated discomfort, a growing awareness that your energy feels safer when they are not around. You may notice that conversations leave you second guessing yourself, that your confidence shrinks subtly over time, that your intuition becomes louder the more you try to silence it. This is not coincidence. This is spiritual awareness sharpening. There is a reason you are becoming more observant. There is a reason you are noticing details you once ignored. There is a reason your tolerance for certain behaviors is disappearing. Growth changes what you can peacefully coexist with. And when your path is divinely guided, misaligned people cannot remain hidden forever. The closer you move toward purpose, the more obvious spiritual interference becomes. That is why what once felt normal now feels uncomfortable. That is why what once felt acceptable now feels heavy. You are not becoming difficult, you are becoming discerning. And understand this clearly: not every warning means someone is evil. Sometimes the warning simply means someone is not assigned to your next season. Not every harmful presence is intentionally destructive. Some people are simply incompatible with the calling placed on your life. But when you ignore misalignment, it slowly turns into damage. And that is exactly what divine warnings are meant to prevent. Protection often feels uncomfortable at first because it asks you to question what you once accepted. It asks you to see what you once overlooked. It asks you to release what you once held tightly. You may feel conflicted because this person has history with you. Maybe there are memories, conversations, shared experiences that make it hard to accept what your spirit is sensing. But chosen one's history does not equal destiny. Time invested does not mean alignment is permanent, and emotional attachment does not cancel spiritual truth. If anything, the people who require the deepest discernment are often those who once felt closest. Because proximity can hide misalignment longer than distance ever could. Pay attention to how your body responds around Him. The body often recognizes what the mind tries to rationalize. Do you feel tense without reason? Do you feel watched, evaluated, or subtly diminished? Do you leave interactions feeling heavier instead of uplifted? Energy exchange never lies. What enters your emotional space either nourishes or depletes. And when depletion becomes consistent, awareness becomes necessary. There is also something else happening beneath the surface. When God is preparing to shift someone out of your life, He begins separating your spirit from emotional dependence first. You may notice you no longer feel the same connection. Conversations feel forced. Silence feels more comfortable than engagement. This is not coldness, this is spiritual detachment forming as protection. Many people misunderstand this stage and try to fix the connection, not realizing the distance is intentional guidance. When something is meant to stay, peace remains. When something is meant to leave, peace withdraws. You are being guided to observe, not react. To recognize, not confront prematurely. Divine wisdom moves with timing. You do not need to accuse, argue, or expose anything right now. Your role is awareness. Your role is clarity. Your role is honoring what your spirit is revealing without forcing immediate action. Because when the moment for movement arrives, it will feel unmistakably clear. And here is something powerful to understand: warnings are not punishment. They are evidence of protection already in motion. The fact that you feel uneasy means you are not being left unaware. The fact that you sense something shifting means you are not being abandoned to confusion. You are being prepared, positioned, redirected before harm can take root. So if your spirit has been restless, if your peace has been inconsistent, if your intuition keeps highlighting the same person again and again, do not silence that awareness just because you cannot logically explain it yet. Discernment often speaks long before understanding arrives. Trust the signal even when the full picture has not formed. Something is being revealed to you slowly, intentionally, carefully. Not to create fear, but to create freedom. Not to make you suspicious, but to make you wise. And wisdom always begins with seeing clearly what you once overlooked. Stay observant, stay grounded, stay connected to the quiet voice within us, but always nudges. Because when God warns you about a person, He is not just showing you who they are. He is showing you who you are becoming, someone who no longer ignores what their spirit knows, someone who no longer sacrifices peace to maintain connection, someone who walks forward guided, protected, and fully aware. There is something else you must understand, and it is deeper than simple awareness, deeper than just noticing discomfort, deeper than sensing that something is off. When God begins warning you about a person, especially a man whose presence has influence in your life, He is not only revealing who that person is, He is also revealing how that person affects your destiny. And that is why the warning feels intense. This is not about personality differences. This is not about ordinary conflict. This is about alignment with purpose. Because there are people who can walk beside you without changing your direction, and there are people whose presence quietly alters your path without you even realizing it. Influence is rarely loud. It is subtle. It works through energy, through words, through emotional pressure, through suggestion, through timing. Sometimes the most dangerous interference does not look like opposition. It looks like closeness. It looks like support that slowly becomes control. It looks like care that slowly becomes limitation. It looks like connection that slowly becomes dependency. And if you are chosen, if your life carries purpose beyond what you currently see, then anything that quietly weakens your clarity becomes a spiritual concern. Think about what happens when someone repeatedly causes you to doubt your own instincts. Not aggressively, not obviously, just gently enough that you begin questioning your perception. Over time, this shifts your internal compass. Instead of trusting what you feel, you begin waiting for their reaction. Instead of moving freely, you begin measuring your choices through their approval. Instead of hearing divine guidance clearly, you hear their voice louder. And chosen ones, the moment another human voice becomes louder than the voice of your inner discernment, your direction becomes vulnerable. This is why spiritual warnings often come before visible harm, because by the time damage becomes obvious, influence has already taken root. God warns early, when patterns are forming, when emotional ties are strengthening, when attachment is deepening, when leaving would still be possible without great loss. Protection is always most active before entanglement becomes permanent. You may notice that this man appears at moments when you are about to grow, decide, move forward, or step into something new. And somehow, every time expansion approaches, something happens. A conversation that creates doubt, a situation that delays progress, a comment that makes you hesitate, a subtle emotional shift that drains your motivation. This is not random timing. Disruptive influence often activates when you are closest to advancement. But here is the important part: not all disruption is intentional. Some people carry confusion within themselves, and that confusion spreads into the lives around them. Some people operate from insecurity, and that insecurity unconsciously resists growth, especially growth they cannot control. Some people feel threatened by transformation, not because they want to harm you, but because your evolution exposes their stagnation. And when someone feels uncomfortable with their own lack of movement, they may unconsciously slow yours. This is why your spirit reacts before your mind understands. Your soul recognizes energetic resistance before your thoughts can interpret behavior. Your body senses misalignment before logic gathers evidence. That uneasiness, that quiet tightening inside your chest, that unexplained emotional fatigue, that is not imagination. That is perception beyond reasoning. And there is another sign that often appears when a warning is active: confusion. Not ordinary confusion, but persistent mental fog around the person. You cannot clearly define what feels wrong, yet clarity never fully settles. Conversations seem normal on the surface, yet afterward your mind replays them. Searching for something you cannot name, you try to feel secure, but your inner world never fully relaxes. This type of confusion is not accidental. It happens when your spirit is detecting something your conscious awareness has not yet fully translated. Chosen ones are especially sensitive to this because they are designed to perceive patterns, energy shifts, and emotional undercurrents that others overlook. But here is the challenge: sensitivity requires courage. Because once you sense something clearly, you must decide whether you will honor what you feel or silence it for comfort. Many people silence warnings because confronting truth feels harder than maintaining familiarity. They tell themselves they need more proof. They convince themselves they are being unfair. They wait for undeniable evidence. But divine guidance rarely operates through undeniable evidence first. It operates through awareness that requires trust. Ask yourself this honestly: how many times has your intuition been correct in the past? How many times did you feel something early, ignore it, and later realize the feeling was accurate? Patterns repeat until lessons are learned. Warnings repeat until they are honored. Discomfort repeats until it is understood. And something even deeper may be happening, something many chosen ones experience when someone is not meant to remain in their life. The relationship begins revealing imbalance. You may notice you give more energy than you receive. You offer understanding, patience, emotional space, yet your own needs feel unseen or minimized. You listen deeply but feel unheard. You support consistently but feel unsupported when it matters most. Over time, this imbalance drains your strength while strengthening the connections hold on you. That is not harmony, that is energetic extraction. And when your energy is being steadily reduced, your clarity weakens, your motivation fades, your spiritual awareness becomes clouded. This makes guidance harder to hear, and anything that weakens your ability to hear divine direction is not neutral, it is obstructive. But here is the powerful truth: once awareness begins, the hold begins breaking. The moment you see clearly, influence loses power. The moment you recognize patterns, confusion loses strength. The moment you trust your perception, manipulation, whether intentional or unconscious, stops shaping your choices. You may also feel an inner pull toward distance, even if nothing dramatic has happened: a desire for space, a need for silence, a sense that separation would restore peace. This is not avoidance, this is recalibration. Your spirit is seeking alignment again. It is trying to return you to clarity before emotional entanglement deepens further. And yes, part of you may resist this, because detachment can feel like loss. Even when something is misaligned, letting go of familiarity can feel painful. Humans are wired for connection. We grow attached to shared time, shared words, shared emotional experiences. But spiritual growth sometimes requires releasing what feels familiar to preserve what is meant for your future. You are not being asked to hate, to judge, or to condemn. You are being asked to see, to understand, and to choose peace over attachment when the two cannot coexist. There may soon come a moment when truth becomes undeniable, a revealing conversation, a clear pattern, a defining situation that removes all uncertainty. And when that moment comes, you will recognize that the warning you felt long ago was accurate from the beginning. That moment will not feel shocking, it will feel confirming. Because deep down, you already know something is changing. The question is not whether the warning is real. The question is whether you will trust yourself enough to respond when clarity fully arrives. For now, remain observant, remain steady, remain grounded in your awareness. Do not rush decisions, but do not ignore signals. Let understanding unfold naturally. Let truth reveal itself without force. Because when divine protection is guiding you, revelation always comes with perfect timing. And when that timing arrives, you will not feel fear. You will feel certainty, and certainty is the final language of divine warning fulfilled. And when certainty finally settles in your spirit, something remarkable begins to happen. The emotional noise that once surrounded this connection starts to quiet. The confusion that once clouded your perception begins to dissolve. It is as if a veil you didn't even realize was covering your awareness slowly lifts, and what remains is simple, undeniable clarity. Not dramatic, not emotional, just clear. You begin to see the patterns without needing to interpret them. You begin to understand the tension without needing to explain it. You begin to recognize the truth without needing validation from anyone else. And chosen ones, this stage is sacred, because this is the moment when discernment transforms into decision. But here is what many people do not expect. When you finally see clearly, you may not feel anger, you may not feel resentment, you may not even feel the need for confrontation. Instead, you may feel something much quieter, a deep inner stillness, a calm acceptance that something has reached its natural end. This is what happens when divine awareness replaces emotional attachment. You stop trying to fix what is misaligned. You stop trying to understand what has already revealed itself. You stop trying to force harmony where peace cannot naturally exist. Instead, you begin protecting your energy with quiet strength. And this quiet strength is often misunderstood by others. Some may interpret your distance as coldness. Some may interpret your silence as pride. Some may interpret your withdrawal as overreaction. But they cannot feel what you feel. They cannot sense what you sense. They cannot hear the guidance that has been speaking within you long before any external change becomes visible. When God leads you away from someone, the separation often begins internally before it ever appears externally. First your spirit detaches, then your emotions, then your presence follows. You may notice that your desire to explain yourself fades. You no longer feel the need to convince, justify, or debate what your spirit has already confirmed. Because when truth is clear, explanation becomes unnecessary. You are not leaving to prove a point. You are not creating distance to punish. You are simply aligning your environment with the peace that has been calling you back. And something powerful happens when you choose alignment over attachment. Your energy returns. The heaviness you carried without realizing it begins lifting. Your thoughts become clearer. Your focus sharpens. Your emotional stability strengthens. You feel lighter. Not because something new entered your life, but because something misaligned is no longer occupying your inner space. This is one of the greatest signs that your discernment was correct. Peace returns where tension once lived. But understand this clearly, release is rarely a single moment. It is a process. Even when clarity is strong, memories still exist. Emotional echoes still surface. Familiar habits still try to pull you back toward what once felt normal. You may question yourself briefly. You may wonder if you were too cautious, too sensitive, too quick to distance yourself. This is not weakness. This is simply the human side of detachment adjusting to a new emotional reality. During this stage, it is essential to remain grounded in what you know, not what you momentarily feel. Feelings can fluctuate, clarity does not. The peace you experienced in distance is not imaginary. The tension you experienced in closeness was not coincidence. The awareness that guided you was not confusion. Do not allow temporary emotional softness to rewrite spiritual truth. There is another reason this process matters deeply, and it reaches beyond this one connection. Every time you honor divine warning, your discernment becomes stronger. Every time you choose peace over attachment, your alignment becomes clearer. Every time you trust your inner guidance, your spiritual awareness becomes sharper. You are being trained, refined, strengthened, not just for this moment, but for every future season of your life. Because where you are going, clarity will be essential. The path ahead requires emotional stability, energetic balance, and strong inner listening. You cannot carry hidden tension into a season that requires full presence. You cannot walk confidently while holding on to something that quietly weakens your direction. Release is not just about protection from harm, it is preparation for purpose. And there is something else, something many chosen ones only realize after distance has already been created. When someone is removed from your path, whether gently or suddenly, space is not left empty, space is prepared. What leaves creates room. What ends creates capacity. What is released creates openness for alignment to enter. Sometimes we hold on so tightly to familiar connections that we cannot even imagine what life feels like without their influence. But once space is created, new clarity arrives, new peace settles, new opportunities appear that could never fully form while misalignment remained present. You may begin noticing how much energy you now have for creativity, for self-reflection, for movement toward things that truly nourish your spirit. You may feel drawn toward environments that feel lighter, conversations that feel more genuine, experiences that feel more aligned with who you are becoming. This is not random expansion. This is realignment unfolding naturally once interference is removed. And here is something deeply important to understand. Release does not mean rejection of a person's worth. It means recognition of their placement. Every person you encounter serves a role in your journey. Some teach, some support, some challenge, some reveal, some simply accompany you for a season. But not everyone is assigned to remain. And when a role is complete, holding on beyond its purpose creates resistance where peace once flowed. You are not responsible for managing another person's reaction to your alignment. You are responsible for honoring the guidance given to you. That guidance came for a reason. That warning came with purpose. That awareness formed because your path required protection. There may be moments when you wonder what would have happened if you ignored the warning, if you stayed, if you dismissed your intuition, if you convinced yourself everything was fine. But you do not need to explore that path. The very fact that you were guided away means something was being prevented. Protection often works by removing you from outcomes you will never fully see. And that is a blessing even when it is invisible. As you move forward, you may notice something else quietly changing inside you. Your standards rise. Your tolerance for energetic imbalance decreases. Your awareness of subtle emotional signals sharpens. You no longer ignore what your spirit detects early. You no longer dismiss discomfort to preserve connection. You no longer sacrifice inner peace to maintain external closeness. This is maturity of discernment. This is growth of spiritual authority within your own life. And one day, perhaps sooner than you expect, you will look back at this moment not with sadness, but with gratitude. Gratitude that you listened. Gratitude that you paid attention. Gratitude that you trusted the quiet voice that refused to let you remain where you were not meant to stay. You will see how that decision protected your direction, preserved your energy, and positioned you exactly where you needed to be. Right now, you are standing in the space between awareness and full transformation. You have seen enough to know something is shifting. You have felt enough to know something is ending. You have understood enough to know something new is preparing to begin. Do not rush the process. Do not fear the distance. Do not question the guidance that has carried you this far. What is leaving for a reason. What is unfolding with intention. What is ahead requires the clarity you are gaining right now. Remain steady. Remain observant. Remain aligned with peace even when emotions fluctuate. Because when God warns you about someone, it is never just about separation. It is about elevation. It is about refining your path until only what supports your purpose can walk beside you. And as you continue forward, lighter, clearer, more aware than before, you will realize something powerful. You were never losing someone. You were being led back to yourself, to your clarity, to your protection, and to the life that was always meant to unfold once you trusted what your spirit knew all along.